one of the things that happens when you're young and you experience early success is you create this unrealistic self-portrait of this brilliant, I'm so much smarter than everybody else. So it took a few of these yo-yo events for me to eat enough humble pie to understand that I have to work really hard to learn as much as I can from other people.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to Weiss Advice. It is my pleasure to have you guys joining us once again for an incredible episode. I'm really looking forward to speak with Blake Janover. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm concerned that all of the good, juicy, fun stuff we ate it all up in the 15 minutes leading up to this introduction. So I may have nothing interesting to say.
I highly doubt that. But the good news is I hit the record button as soon as I hit the Zoom button. So I have all that, and I could edit it back in to the episode if I wanted to.
Well, now I can't run for president. Or maybe I can.
Oh, this is awesome. Just guys, give a little context because I like to introduce, our guest, Blake. He's, I'd love for you to give a little more introduction to yourself. But if I were to do it, he's the founder and CEO of Janover Ventures, which is a FinTech-enabled commercial mortgage brokerage or marketplace, if you will, where they're lending, financing, many different aspects to the business, which I'd love to hear, a little bit about. In the 15 years where he's been in the business, he's closed and advised on billions of dollars of loans. What else we have to say? What did I miss, Blake? I mean, there's so much more, but come on. How much can you introduce the person?
No, that's it. That's my life story right there.
That's it right there.
That was it. That was A to Z. That's who I am as a human.
So so you're 15 years old. No, what happened before? What happened before Janover Ventures? How'd you get there?
Okay, so when you reference 15 years old, you want me to go back to when I was 15 years old? No. I'll take that. I'll walk that road. So when I was a young kid, I was a troublemaker. I kind of got sent away to some crazy places. One of those boot camps. Anyway, all right, I'm not going to go there. I actually had probably more than 15 years of real estate capital markets experience and entrepreneurship experience leading up to Janover Ventures. That's included being a residential and commercial real estate direct lender. And it's included blowing up a couple companies along the way, selling one, and even some time finding myself in a fishing village in a secluded part of the Dominican Republic for a year or two. So there's been quite the wild ride leading up to Janover Ventures, but at risk of talking too much, what really the trigger event for creating Janover Ventures was that there's this absolutely asymmetric access to information on what's available to commercial mortgage borrowers, right? To property owners and investors. This is something you experience yourself. I'm sure that most folks, the average Joe, does not know about opportunities that lie in cost segregation. And
right.
Similarly, folks don't know about all the loan options that are available to them out there. They've got their bank or credit union they've been working with for 25 years. So there was a need that I was kind of passionate about filling. So that's
awesome. Okay. Yeah. What I find interesting is that, just looking at your LinkedIn, and that's obviously where we spend a lot of time. You got this Harvard Business School education, but I'm curious because a lot of people have the Harvard Business School education and it's like an online course. Some people actually go through the rigorous, process of going to Harvard. So I'm just curious, what was it for you?
Oh, I'm in the middle. So I'm like the quintessential school of hard knocks, like dropout, kicked out of school, rebellious, sticking it to the man. So as I got older, the badge of honor that I wore of I never graduated. I have no formal education. This became what to me was an obvious weakness, which is why I decided to really accelerate my formal learning, which meant reading a lot of books, which meant applying for and enrolling for executive education courses. So to speak to Harvard Business School, I spent a week on campus in a super intense, 14-hour a day type program in their business school about financial technology and innovating in FinTech and things like that. And I did some similar stuff at MIT too, and I'll continue to go back because it was a powerful experience providing different perspectives and frameworks for how to look at the world.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that someone who is really pushing themselves for the continual education, not just formal education, which, to be honest with you, I also hated. And I for all intents and purposes, I dropped out of college, even though I actually finished and got my degree, but made sure that it was sent to my parents' house. So I have actually never seen my diploma. Nor did I go to the graduation ceremony, but that's just me. I think I really wish I didn't go, because I felt like I could have accomplished so much more had I not been in college. But it's all part of the learning steps, all part of the learning process. And you mentioned that you had a company, you found it, and you exited. What does that mean? You sold it?
Yeah, I sold it. I sold it. I had a company. I've had many, right? But one of the exits, it wasn't the graceful Silicon Valley type exit where there's a bidding war by big corporations or an IPO. It was kind of me and my partner and I. Right? There's my lack of education. Me and my partner and I. Had a falling out. We had a really good company with a strong model that was doing well, and we just kind of took it to market to see what was out there, and sold it. And it was a good sale. And I ended up with like this beautiful, very long relationship with the buyers, and so that's that story in a nutshell.
And that's what led you to some fishing village in the Dominican Republic?
It was actually post Fishing Village. Fishing Village was like I had I had a residential and commercial lending company back in the last cycle when I was a very young man, I guess my early 20s, and we were making millions. And then I was broke, borderline homeless, can't pay the electricity bill. And that was like a real hit. And then I started another company in consumer capital markets, and I ended up in the Dominican Republic to expand our call center and outbound, inbound, and infrastructure. So I was working in Santo Domingo, in the capital of the Dominican Republic. We were one of the biggest employers in the city at the time.
Yeah.
And some things didn't go according to plan, and we ended up losing or really just getting our ass kicked in that business too. So that was like two of these like yo-yo events, right? So I had one more yo-yo event after that, and I was like, screw it, I'm done. Business is not meant for me. I'm not meant to be in business. There's obviously something fundamentally wrong with me. And the only place, I got to go try to find happiness in some other way than, growing, building, nurturing, and something with some kind of economic component. So it was almost a log cabin in the jungle by the ocean for quite some time.
All right, talking about complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Oh, I have that personality. Formerly I had this very extreme binary thing going on where it's all the way one
nothing.
place or all. Yeah. So I'm working at getting better at being able to live somewhere in the middle of that spectrum.
Yeah. I mean, the golden path, right? That's what we try to take, the middle ground. That's really the route to success, I find, is the balance of life, being extreme, but also being able to come back the other way and find your place in the middle. And that's, that historically, that wasn't a skill set of mine. It's one that I'm honing, Yona. Yeah. Well, we're all, we're all in this life as an educational experience, trying to grow trying to learn every day. And that's really what it's all about. What are some of the tools that you've used to kind of restructure, and coming back from all of these yo-yo kind of events, so that, you're obviously starting now, you got a new venture going on past 18 months or so, and you're, raising capital, you guys are expanding. So how are you balancing that, the past experiences to make sure that you're learn from them and not going back to another yo-yo?
Well, that's a great question. So one of the things that happens when you're young and you experience early success is you create this unrealistic self-portrait of this, brilliant, impenetrable force of, cape wearing, building, leaping awesomeness, right? Like I'm so much smarter than everybody else, right? So like looking back, I really just, I rode a wave. I'm certainly hardworking and ambitious and maybe I'm smart, but I'm not particularly special. So it took a few of these yo-yo events for me to eat enough humble pie to understand that I'm not particularly special and that I have to work really hard to learn as much as I can. And historically, I learned from my own failures, right? So what I have to work on now and what I'm continuing to work on now is how can I learn from other people? I was so bitterly stubborn with something to prove, and I just wouldn't take any outside help at all. I was this like lone horseman, and now I'm just trying to surround myself with folks that are smarter than me, that are highly competent. I am immersed in reading and educating myself as much as I can. I just signed up for Shane Parrish, really smart dude. He has a great podcast. He's no Yona Weiss, but it's called the Knowledge Project. And he's doing a thing on strategic decision making and things like that. So it's just being aware that of how little I actually know. And when I'm aware of that, then it makes me much more open to collecting data from outside sources and kind of throwing it in the line. Also, like from a practical perspective, when I look back, I was high leverage, ultra fast growth, like everything that Silicon Valley wants, right? And that's actually not for me. I want to grow fast, but I want to grow healthy. I don't want a lot of leverage. I don't want a lot of debt. I want to operate with a healthy profit margin. That's startups don't have profit margins. Half these public technology companies don't have any profits, right? But that's something that's important to me because it's something that lends to sleep in the evening, and sleep is important too.
Absolutely. And you have a family, and you're, wanting to, grow and continue to provide for them. So obviously it's much different than a model of a startup tech company where you're just looking to be that unicorn, right? You're not looking to be that unicorn.
Yes, I am.
Oh,
we're going to be the unicorn. Oh yeah.
Okay.
We're going to be a unicorn. And maybe that's my youthful arrogance speaking, but that's everything I intend, but I intend to do it in our own way, in a way that works well for us. And that might mean it takes us an extra few years. It might mean it takes us an extra decade. I'm okay with that. This is long game, and I'm not searching for dopamine in this.
Yeah. So you're taking into account, all of the, the climate changes in the economy, and obviously things that are happening currently that you guys are growing within that environment.
We're growing. We're profitable. It's because we're super lean. We're capital efficient. We rely primarily on technology. We don't have a big sales force, and that's part of the culture, right? Being lean, conscientious of spend, and accounting for pretty much everything we spend or invest in the business as an investment, and looking for an appropriate return on that investment. So, are we growing 3,000% per year? No, but we'll continue to demonstrate triple-digit growth, in my opinion, and that's pretty healthy.
Yeah, actually, I would say so. That's awesome. I want to just talk and schmooze, the whole day long, but we have a time schedule here. So we're going to jump to the final four.
Oh, that's it?
4 questions.
The 4 questions. I'm ready. Do you want me to recite?
Let's do it. Go for
it. No, I can't get too far, but but you know where I stand. It's Manishna Halayla Chazeh Mikol.
Something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Something
whatever.
like that. So
I'm not the best Jew in the world, but I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle ground.
There's no such thing as the best. We're all trying to do the little bit we can do every day and trying to be good people. But I appreciate that because, we have this tradition called the 4 questions that on Passover we recite, as part of our tradition. And I didn't even think of that. I'm asking these 4 questions every single time. And Blake is the one that brought that up to me. So I appreciate that. And let's just jump into the 4 questions, what I'll now call the 4 questions, even though I call the final 4, because, the NCAA didn't have a tournament this year. So we got to do something to commemorate that. Number 1, what is the worst job you ever had?
So the worst job I ever had was probably the most deeply fulfilling job I ever had, but it was by far, it was the worst by a million miles. So in the beginning of the call, I said when I was a young man, I was sent away to some pretty tough places. And one of the jobs was they had acres and acres and acres and acres of land up in the foothills of the Catskill Mountains. And I would wake up at 6 a.m. and they would give me a lawnmower, not an electric lawnmower, the one that turns, the manual one.
Oh, wow.
You have a handle on the top, and I would have to mow acres and acres and acres and acres of land with this thing. So that sucked, but there's, at the end of the day, there's this weirdly fulfilling vitamin D filled manual labor, like good feeling you have inside that's really hard to describe. But everything leading up to that truly and deeply sucked.
It's funny because, a lot of people who we have on this call, whenever they ask them about the worst job, it's somehow, somewhere has to do with 2 things. Number 1, it was when they were really young, right? Mm-hmm. And number 2 has to do with some kind of manual labor, mm-hmm. which just, it just goes to show you that, young children are being taken advantage of.
That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. The worst job was when I was making Nikes. No, that's actually a horrible joke. If you could edit that out, that would be perfect.
We'll try to do that. Second question for you. What's a book you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
So I'm concerned that it's a frequently used book. It's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. No, I'm just kidding. No. It's Sapiens. So, golly, what's his name? Yuval Noah Harari. Maybe I say his name wrong, but he provides this. He presents this perspective, which is really interesting, and it's not necessarily a new perspective, but the way he presents it. It landed as a new perspective, and that was that all we are, besides sophisticated opposing thumb monkeys, are storytelling machines, and how everything that happens around us, good, bad, that we eat, whatever, we assign these stories to everything, and it was really interesting to like contemplate this idea that I could just change the stories that I tell myself, and this will materially impact the way I walk along this life as a human. It was a powerful book for me.
Okay, I've never read that. I think I saw it and I've heard something about it and just was like, I might.
There's some controversial stuff in there.
I think I read once a few years ago a review. Someone was speaking on it. I was just like, I don't really agree with some of those things. So I'm a little picky. What I do choose to read, I read tremendous amount, and I'd say probably more than most humans. But
I don't agree.
I'm still a little picky.
I don't agree with all those perspectives, but I do like to chew on the perspectives of others, especially those that are from like a totally different universe or perspective than I am. Right. And then I could just kind of like pick the pieces that I like, and then they could keep the rest.
That makes sense. Definitely makes sense. All right. Question number 3. Is there a skill or talent that you would like to learn?
Yeah. I'd like the skill I'd like to learn is to peacefully exist in the middle of the 2 extremes that my former self spent so much time at. That would be it.
Yeah, we call it the golden mean, right? The middle ground, the middle road, the road less traveled, believe it or not.
I don't necessarily need to live there or even spend a lot of time there, but if I had the skill to place myself there at will, and not lose my mind, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a good place to be. Fourth and final question, Blake. What does success mean to you?
My answer is going to be so cheesy.
No.
Yeah, it's love, contentment, family, growth, peace, or gratitude, which is like the opposite of stress. Yeah, like just all the cheesiest things you could think of.
But those are the awesome things to strive for. Yeah, I mean, those are things to strive for that I think any healthy person should. And unfortunately, like you said, when you were in the early 20s and very quote unquote successful, right?
Right.
That was a monetary success, but by no means that was the way you would define success today, which is just incredible how that word and that concept changes as we grow and as time goes on.
That's right. Well said.
Blake, where can our listeners find you, find more about you?
Well, I mean, you could look me up on LinkedIn. It's Blake Janover, BlakeJanover. You can visit us online at Janover.Ventures. There's no .com or .net. It's just Janover.Ventures. Or you can Google around. I'm creeping all over the internet these days.
That's awesome. And you got a blog that you put out, right? The multifamily. You don't do that anymore?
Oh, well, I mean, you could visit some of our websites, right? So we've got a lot of them. So we have probably thousands of pages on everything that has to do with multifamily commercial real estate loans. So if you're looking for anything that has to do with multifamily or commercial real estate financing, you could visit multifamily.loans, CMBS.loans, commercial real estate.loans, HUD.loans. Really, if you're Googling anything that has to do with multifamily or commercial real estate loans, you're probably going to end up on one of our sites anyway. And we appreciate having you. Also, if you'd like to, I'm not like a quick draw responder, but you can email me at blake@janover.ventures.
Awesome. We'll do I'm just curious how you got to .ventures.
So .ventures started with .loans. So if you'll indulge a short segue, when I was in this jungle house, I always geek out on these like digital trends and as well as capital markets and things like that. So the new thing was like Google just bought Google.xyz. And I was like, well, gosh, there's not really, I'm bridging this story. There's not really a lot of information out there in like a really well-organized place on multifamily financing. Let me see if multifamily.loans is available. And it was. So I built the website, published it in a few days, and we were number one on Google for multifamily loans. And then I bought HUD.loans and then commercial real estate.loans. And then I was really sticking it to the .com man because I see no real value that I could see to .com. So now it's a differentiator now.
That's awesome.
So that's
is it still that way, you think? The .com?
From an SEO perspective, and Google's been kind of Google's articulated this pretty well. They don't really care about your TLD, your top level domain .com or whatever it is. They're not you having a .com, and this is controversial in this very geeky SEO community. But the proof is in the pudding, and we're on the first page of Google for thousands of search terms. So the bottom line is that it's all about the quality of your content, that your content is unique and helpful and valuable. The little Google spiders are getting really good at identifying natural language and unique content. If you've got some shop on the other side of the world writing your content, you're not going to rank well no matter what your domain is. So I don't think .coms really matter, and I think find a cool new top level domain for everybody's website. It's really easy to find. I use Namecheap. I could just go down this like black hole of domain searching for hours. It's really counterproductive and a way to procrastinate.
All right, that's the next episode.
Right, sorry.
All about the black hole of web searching. It's been a tremendous pleasure speaking with you today, Blake. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been awesome.
This has been really cool, man. Thank you so much for having me. I hope I can make it to the front of your giant backlog of podcasts.
We'll try to push you forward as much as we can. And, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time with us. And to our listeners, thank you again for tuning in and, joining us all the way to the end. I hope this was valuable for you. I definitely got value out of this in so many different ways. And remember, tune in again. But the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.